Hey folks, Georgia DJ here again. Today I wanted to do a quick video just to share with you my thoughts on picking the right mobile DJ speakers or sound systems from the beginner DJ to the novice DJ that's done it years or everybody in between. First of all, when we start talking about somebody's mobile DJ speakers, it's sort of like talking about their mama. You want to be very careful what you say. But I'm not going to get too much into specific products. I will mention a few, but I want to talk about the process, what I think you should consider. So first of all, whether you are buying new or used, your budget, obviously you want to consider those things. Where are you? Are you buying your first, speaker as a beginning DJ, or are you trying to buy something because you're not going out as much, or you're at the peak of your career? All those things are important, but I think you want to think through the whole process of a gig. Like from the time you first buy that speaker, where are you going to store it? How are you going to transport it? When you get there, who's going to help you set it up? Do you have health problems where you're going to injure your back or your shoulder or something like that? At the end of the night, can you get it in the car if it's raining? And when you get home, do you have to carry up or downstairs? And I'm mentioning this because obviously at some point you probably have thought about like subwoofers and things like that. And I think there is a time and place for that. So keep all that in mind. But let me take you through where I think you should start if this is your first day. And you can tell me where you are in the process. If you're starting off, my suggestion is buy a good set of 15-inch top caps. That's what I started off with. Well, not really. I started off with some guys sharing home stereo equipment, but when I went out on my own, it was an amp and a really heavy PV top cap. I did every show with it, 300, sometime a little more, to 25 people. It was a little bulky in 25, and it was not enough in the 300, but it worked. But again, you can buy a good 15 now that will look good in that smaller crowd and do really well in your bigger crowds. One of the things that you may want to think about is, what quality of speaker. Maybe go with something that you can see some reviews on. I don't suggest putting a whole lot of money in it to the nicest 15 out there, but if you're going in something like, I do the alto speakers, I like those, PV, Mackie, some of those you can probably spend a nice amount of, or an average amount of money, I should say, and get a really nice speaker. If you go into JBL, EV, or something like that, you may have to go with just the entry level or one level in. But I wouldn't make it my most expensive speaker I'm ever going to buy. This is just a good utility speaker. Now I'll take you to the second step. Second step would be to go with what I call your go-to system. If you've been doing it now for a little while, or if you get to that point where you've done 5, 10 shows, whatever, and you say, most of my shows are big, then go with your good 12-inch top cap, which I think they sound a little better than the 15, for mid-bass, and then an 18-inch sub. If your back doesn't allow it, your space, your health, your storage, then you can't go with an 18-inch sub, go with a 15. But go with a pretty good, powerful system. I would say it needs to be at least the same quality that you first bought and maybe a step up. So let's say you brought the entry-level EV and then you wanted to step up a couple levels in there. Get people to help you with it. Look at things like SPL rating, and yes, I'm going to use the W word. Even look at wattage. I wouldn't suggest you pay a whole lot of attention to peak. When I started, everybody did pretty much just RMS wattage. It was just one wattage, but that's the real continuous watts. I think it's good. It's information. Don't make that your final decision based on wattage, but know what it is. Why would you turn down information available for you, even if you don't use it? And then, of course, if you do the smaller shows, go with something like maybe a 8 or 10 top and a 12-inch sub. That bass will develop a little closer to you and not so far back in the room like in your big show. Those are great little systems for weddings. And when I say if you do smaller shows, let me back up a second. I think 200 to maybe 400 are large or extra large shows. I think 1 to 200 are small and medium sized shows. So when I talk about larger shows, 2 to 4. When I talk about smaller shows, maybe 1 to 200 people. That's just how I rate them. But if you're in that smaller category, get a little smaller sub, maybe even a modular system. I use the EV of all 50. LD has some RCF, turbo sound, whatever. But whatever you're getting here, focus your money and your efforts, your setup time, because this is the system that you're going to use the most. And so I think that's where your money should go. If you want to take it another level, if you're already there or what have you, then go to level 3 of my plan, which is to backfill. If you had the larger system, get the smaller one. If you had the smaller system, I'll get the larger one. Quality, maybe not even as much money because you probably won't use it as much. The reason I say start off with that 15, because if, for example, you have a big system at level 2 of my plan and you need to do a smaller show, that 15-inch woofer sounds better than just a 12, in my opinion. So you're going to be able to do a smaller show. Maybe some shows that you don't want to bring us up and still have a decent amount of bass. I think you're going to miss that if you have the 12. And then, of course, if you are focusing at my level 2 on the smaller shows under 200, you still got a big 15-inch to push some air on those bigger parties. Maybe not a gymnasium, but the little bigger parties you have. You could take this even further and go to a level 4 and add to your system so you can do over 400. I'm probably not the person to ask for that because I never really got into those bigger shows. I've had big shows like that, but very seldom, and definitely not in many, many moons. And if you're doing smaller stuff, maybe invest with a battery powered system where you can do little quick setup stuff at work or for a wedding ceremony. I have the little JBL Eon 1 Pro, and that's my go-to speaker at work. It fills a conference room for 50 people easily. It's so quick to set up, and that presentation has led people to ask me to do stuff for relatives with my bigger system. So those are my thoughts on getting a DJ system. If you say I only want one, or I can only go to level 2, that's up to you. But if you can only get one system, I would suggest start off with a good set of 15s and then maybe add a 15 or 18-inch sub. I don't think they'll sound as good as a 12-inch on top, but you may not even notice the difference, but you definitely can do the bigger crowds. If you're looking for something that would be like, hey, I want a really nice system, but I only buy one, check out the Bose F1. I'm a Bose fan. I don't own it. I thought about it when I got my EV, but I didn't need that much power. I haven't been over 250 people in 15 years. So, but I think that would be a good all-around speaker if you're looking for that, about $4,000. So that's my thoughts on it. No matter what you do, remember, you paid for it, you own it. It's all your decision. Listen to some suggestions, but own your decisions. I'm Georgia DJ, as always. Thanks for watching.